Yeah, the first time would have been out at Paraparap, and I come across a friend found a bit of blackwood that to me looked like a wave that I started working on. That was the first time I sort of saw something in a piece of wood that I liked, and that's where it all sort of started from, was there. With this one, it was sort of it wasn't a finer finish because I tried to create a texture in the wave, so it was sort of a different finish, and I finished it with shellac. I was working with shellac back then, and since then I've sort of changed the tongue off and finish. So, but yeah, that was the first one. It was just a wave out of a bit of blackwood that was amazing because the bark of the blackwood, when it ages, goes white, and then it created that foam on the top of the tree. It looked amazing. So yeah, it was the first one, a wave, and then the second one was a bit of driftwood that I found on the beach that had been in a fire somewhere that had a little flame of colour in the back where a bit of charcoal chipped off, and I chipped it all off and then come up with Nessie. It looked like the Loch Ness monster. Well, I really like working with root systems. That's basically what I'm looking for. Is a lot of me little pieces are broken off pieces of a root system, to the point where that's where I started. And now I've worked my way up into virtually going into full-size trees, root systems, where you can create amazing things out of them. Well, I can see all sorts of things in different pieces of wood, and like evolution. When I started working on it, the first part of it was a dragon head that stuck out at me, and then when I was working on that, I sort of found other things as I went, like a turtle and an elephant, and that's where the theme for evolution came, was because I kept finding different animals in it as I was looking at it. Like, it's amazing. That piece has probably got, I think it's about 12 different characters in it. Generally, it's just the one thing. Like, I've got a chameleon seal that I'm doing, so it's, even though it's a lizard, but it's just the one creature. It's not a combination of things like evolution. Although I've just found another piece that's similar, where there's 3 distinctive characters in the piece of wood, and that again will go the same way as evolution, but generally they're like a one-piece thing. Like I've got a black prawn that I found in down in the Otways that we've been in a river for a long time, and it's an amazing bit of wood. And then I've got quite a few bits of yellow box that I've found around the place and friends' places, and a foo dog, which is a Chinese dragon, which is huge through Chinese history. I've got black prawn, I've got a sailfish, I've got a stonefish, out of just bits of wood that most people have burnt. It's sort of like that prehistoric, like the future and the past, they sort of could interlock with animals. Like, you could go back to creatures that were dinosaurs in the future, and I sort of see my art as that. Like, I'm not sure whether it's the past or the future. I just see the animal, make what I see, with an idea. Like with the chameleon seal, it had a part of the head that just looked like a chameleon lizard, and I went, oh wow. And then I just had to work my way into, because I couldn't make a lizard out of the trunk, so I thought, oh, I'll make a seal, a chameleon seal, because at the time I was still into making some sort of fish. I like the idea of the sea because I live in Bells. I've got a view straight out on the ocean that I look at all the time, so it all sort of fitted together with the fish, and it just sort of flowed. Like, now I'm sort of branching off into it, the bigger tree trunks, which give you sort of a lot more different scope and because of the root system, you get curves and different lines, which sort of give you the look of an animal in movement, not something that's sitting there prim and proper, but it's like it's running or it's... they sort of vary with different trees and different conditions. Like with the big ones, it's generally a normal tree that's grown normally with the roots spreading out properly, which grows into a really big tree. Some are trees that have hit rocks or have hit another root system, so they climb over the top of it or around it, or could be tea tree that's got a huge root system because it grows on the cliffs, which is pounded by weather and virtually grows as a shrub along the ground, not up. So that root system's got to be really big and strong to hold it in the ground, and they have amazing root systems, tea tree, and they react to things like sand, and sand can create a reaction on the outside of the tree, which will give you, you'd think it was like a series of pins. They're that fine, these little needles that come out of the wood to protect it from, say, the wind blasting sand into it all the time. Happens a lot in the mallee, where the sand's just hitting the base of the tree constantly, and the tree reacts to that torture that's getting from the sand. It's like it's getting wind blasted all the time. And that just makes it grow into these amazing shapes. Well, the Kuri people all around the world have been using them for thousands of years. Because what they do is they'll search for a tree that's probably, you'd be looking at a shrub that's 8 to 9 foot high with a fairly good base. But then what they do is they'll dig down to find what the root system's done, because what they're looking for is a tree that's hit a rock base. Because then what happens is, because the root system can't spread like that, so the roots form as a ball, and sometimes they actually form over the top of the rock, and you'll get the shape of the rock around the tree, and it's amazingly heavy. I've got one in there that's, I think it's got a rock in it for sure. Because you pick it up and it's got a branch that big, but it'd probably weigh 10 to 15 kilos. It's really heavy. And that's what they look for. They dig down, look for that bulb, go, got one. As a weapon. Some will use as symbols. Like you would have seen the chief of the tribe walking around with these, because they're fairly hard to find as well. It takes you a while to actually go find them. You don't just walk over and go like that and find one. And it'll take a lot of digging to find the right size club, I suppose you'd call it. Yeah, I've got a basic set of carving chisels that I've had for a little while now, and I've had a normal set of carpenter's chisels for quite a while as well. I've got my favourites. You tend to use a set of chisels and use them how you think you can use them. Like you'll use a certain edge of the blade to take out what you want to take out. And I find that I've probably got 3 or 4 that I use constantly, that I've always got there. And then you'll need something that, you might need a V. I've got a little V chisel that you just put a nice little fine line in for detail, and you use them occasionally. But I use a lot of concave chisels mostly, because I find that the concave, I don't, with a flat chisel you'll take the edge, you'll create a line either side of the chisel, but with the concave you're taking just the belly of it out, so you tend to create finer lines, so it's easier to flatten them out and polish them up. I spend a fair bit of time with sandpaper, and I'll get the file out and I'll fine it up to the point where I'll move into the sandpapers. And with sandpapering, I generally go through 4 layers of paper. I'll start off fairly heavy to create the shapes more than actually sort of sand it. You know, you've got to get those curves and stuff that you need that you can't get with a chisel. So you're in there getting those, and then I'll come down in grade of paper to get me smooth surface. But what you've got to do is every time you go through with a layer of sandpaper, you've got to make sure that you take out what you want to take out in that first one. Because if you don't take it out with the first one, you'll never get it with the next lot of sandpaper. So you've got to make sure your first sand is your best sand, really. And then just work your way through that, and then I generally give them a clean, try and get all the dust and everything off them. So I'll give them a good brush over with terps, clean everything off. I want to get every dirt, every bit of dust and fingerprints. You don't want to be touching your timber and then oiling it. So you want to have that perfectly clean surface, clean area, and then I hit it with tung oil. Give it a nice coat of that, and then I'll wait probably 4 hours for it to nearly dry. And when I say nearly, it's virtually dry, but you might have a little bit of residue on the top of it. You'll just see how it's still drying. Then I hit it then, and I really give it a good polish. Like, it'll take me, depending on the size or something, like. First is a dust-free linen cloth, and then the finishing off is a wool cloth. Like, I love that feel of the wool on the wood. It gives a beautiful shine. But the first 4 coats are probably the most important, because what I generally do is as I'm going through those, I'll be touching them up with sandpaper, taking any little indentations or little nicks out of it as you go. Like you're sort of touching it up as you go the whole way through the polishing system. Right. And then, you know, you get to the point where you layer the tung oil, because then what you start doing is, because you've got a flat surface, then you build the tung oil up, so you get that almost like a glass finish where you see through the oil into the texture of the wood, and it gives you the detail. That's what gives you the detail of the grain, because it's picked it up and turned it into a flat surface. That's how you get a really nice grainy bit of wood, is by getting it flat. It's like the French when they French polish. You know, they 36 coat a piece. So they'd, and it would have been shellac. So they'd lay their shellac down, and then it's all in the polish and the friction you create and the heat with polishing that flattens it out. Because what you're doing is you're pushing the tung oil into places, and you're slowly building up till you get a dead flat surface. Like, where you can't do that with any other oil, because they're all a soft finish, where tung oil is a hard finish, which I think, you know, makes my pieces look really good. Because I really like a very smooth finish. So with Evolution, I'd probably put in, I think I would have put in at least 40 hours of polishing it so far. I've still got to give it another 8 coats. So it takes, that's where the detail, like the detail is in your finishing. Yeah, you can get your chiseling work and the shape to a certain point where you can't take it any further. In big pieces, yeah, because you've got to get it, like, it's funny because you can do the bulk of it in no time flat. It's like the finishing of it, but when you have to finish it and get into those little, some areas you could work out for an hour. I've sat there and you're only doing that, but you've got to stay there until you finish it, because that final little bit of detail is what you see. For me, it's funny because I've only been doing it for 2 years now, so, and I'm self-taught. I've got, the only knowledge I've got of art is that I like art and sculpture, and I'm just doing it my own way. So for me, it's quite funny. I'm sort of caught in the middle of that, loving it all. Like, all from the bush, mate. Yeah. They're all bits of wood that most people have burnt. A lot of them have come out of old fires. I'll search an old pile of wood on a farm that's been sitting there for 30 years, have been burnt out. Get in there and have a look around. Driftwood, find a lot of driftwood off the beach, and friends find a lot of stuff for me as well. But I've turned a few people, I think. Yeah, which is great, and I'm just getting lots of different ideas. It's opened up a new world for me. It's that challenge to find the piece that I'm looking at. You know what I mean? Like you always see something. Like there's always a piece in it where I go, oh wow, look at that. You then work in your plan. Like I have to put something aside for a long time. I've got to look at it for ages and put it in different positions and sit it there, because things can change. Oh yeah, there's definitely something. Because something with root systems you just don't know, because everything I do is root systems. And making more creatures out of things, like having, did you see that dragon head I did out of the blackwood? That was fun, because the shape was there, but I had to put the detail into it. So it sort of changes to the wood, the piece itself. You sort of, it'll tell you what it wants really, or needs. And again, it changes. Like some of them straight away. Like when I did the little stonefish, it was a stonefish straight off. The little pieces seem to be easy. They tell you, like they're straightforward to a degree. You know what I mean? Like with like evolution, I was finding things as I was cleaning it, because it was a whole base of a tree that was dug out of the ground. And I worked with the roots underneath, and then found the dragon and the elephant. It was amazing. Evolution was because it was sort of like it had like a pterodactyl. It was the first one, like it was a dinosaur pterodactyl. And then I went, oh, there's a turtle. And then as I did the turtle, then I found the elephant with the trunk. And as I cleaned things, I just found things and just turned them into them. It was great evolution. It was good fun. I don't go in with a detailed plan. I sort of go in and find it and work with it, because I've already got a basic shape. I'm not carving it out of a block of wood. And it's sort of telling me what it wants to be, instead of me going, well, you're going to be this. And then I plan and try and work a leg or whatever it is, that part of the body I've got to do at that time. Yeah, that plays a big part with the wood. Like, especially in a lot of the woods I deal with, because they've either been burnt or a lot of them come out of water, burnt water a long time, and that affected by bugs, like little pieces that come off trees that might have been like out of the mallee. You get wind damage to trees through the sand and constantly banging into the tree, and you'll get burrs and weird little objects that get used to turn into something else, like little echidnas and all sorts of things. I like the colour texture of black. With something burnt, you can use that blackness in the wood and then get deeper into it and find the different colours. Like you can, especially with really aged and weather-beaten wood, you'll find different layers, and as you go through it, you tend to find different grains. Because with really old wood that's really weathered, it'll have a bubble in it, like a constant, sand. And as you take the wood off, it gets tighter. So you take more off, and those gaps become less and less, and you get a different effect. So you can use that right through the wood, like I did with evolution on the wing. It's nearly the outside of the tree. and that's where you've got all that tight little, you can see a lot of the grain in it, and then when you get down into the body, it's very smooth, and it gives you that, it gives you a different texture. And then once you add the oils or wood or especially oils, but you can use colours, and it really changes the. You want to get the dirt out because the dirt's going to muck up your tools. So it'll blunt your tools very quickly, dirt. So you want to get it as clean as you can. And geez, it could be anything from just a screwdriver, depending on where you want to get in and clean it. Sometimes I soak them in. I've got a barrel out there that I'll soak them in to get them really wet, and then they're a lot easier to get into those tight little places. You know what root systems are like. You have a little area that you just can't get into unless you really soak it. Because what I do is I wash them, and then I clean them, and then I work on the shape. Well, so the good thing about cleaning it too is you sort of get a look at the colour of it. Because when you wet wood, you get the natural colour coming back in it. So it's good to know what you're sort of going to be dealing with down the track as well. So the cleaning of it's pretty important, mainly because your tools, because your chisels are pretty expensive. You're picking your moment for what area you want to work on, for what chisel you're using. And there'll be different times for different things. I've got a fairly minimal chisel selection. If you want a good job, you've got to polish.